Let's talk more macro, though, and the inflation implications of labor power. And of course, an incoming deadline for the United Auto Workers and General Motors. Caroline Woods has got an update for us from the New York Stock Exchange. Good morning, Caroline. What's up?
Hey there. Good morning, Oliver. Yes, taking a look at U.S. automakers right now, GM, Ford, Stellantis, all higher this morning. Both GM and Ford actually up by more than 2.5% right now, despite that impending UAW potential strike, because the deadline, of course, is tomorrow night. And the UAW already said it could strike at certain plants if it looks like a deal is not likely. It's expected that they'll announce which targeted plants will actually go on strike just hours before the deadline of when those contracts expire, which is at 11:59 p.m. tomorrow night. So it seems like a strike could be likely here. The UAW president is calling the walkout, or the potential walkout, a stand-up strike as opposed to the sit-down strike at General Motors in Flint, Michigan back in the 30s. But the union, of course, is pushing for double-digit pay increases, more time off, cost of living adjustments, shorter work weeks, and end of temporary workers. It's really been weighing on shares since July, but obviously not today. As I said, GM and Ford up more than 2% today. Stellantis up about 0.75%. And UBS actually is buying any dip that we have seen. An analyst over there said investors should focus on growth opportunities and not the looming strike. So he actually upgraded Ford to buy from sell with a $15 price target, and upgraded GM as well to buy from neutral with a $44 price target. He said contract details will matter for the automakers, but some level of wage cost inflation was to be expected, and that for the suppliers, 4 weeks of a strike at the Detroit automaker plants have been priced in at this point. So he also said for legacy automakers, peak pricing and internal combustion engine, battery electric vehicle transition concerns are well appreciated, and UAW sell-off created a more attractive risk reward. So becoming more bullish on Ford and GM, kept Tesla at neutral, thinks it's well positioned for the long term, but the analyst is waiting for a better entry point there. Obviously doesn't use union workers, so a bit of a different story there. Also just want to note, this analyst also initiated coverage on a bunch of other names, so also on the buy list, Aptiv, Mobileye, BorgWarner, and then on the neutral list, American Axle, Visteon, Adient, Rivian, Magna, Dana, and Lear. So quite a few calls, 13 calls from this analyst over at UBS. But interesting that he's buying this Ford and GM dip and thinks 4 weeks of a strike could be priced in.
Wow, okay. I mean, GM's at the lows, so I guess I could see that argument. The shares are popping this morning pretty good. All of the auto stocks are looking pretty solid. Maybe some of this report, I don't know. I mean, it certainly helps to hear something positive. We haven't really heard such a broad, sweeping bull case for the general sector related to this subject. It's mostly been caution up until this point. So perhaps there is a little bit of relief trade in response to this.
Yeah, it could be that. And then for Ford, too, Oliver, we're seeing shares up about 2.7%. There's also news that Ford plans to double the production of its F-150 hybrid pickup truck. Yeah. It's seen as kind of a reaction to slower than expected sales of its all EV vehicles. So it's aiming to ramp up sales of the V6 hybrid model during the 2024 model year to about 20% in the U.S., although they didn't give specific production figures on that front. This, of course, follows Ford CEO Jim Farley's statement back in July, basically outlining plans for the automaker to quadruple the production of gas-electric hybrids while also increasing EVs at a slower pace than previously announced. So haven't quite seen the adoption of the all-EV Ford models, so they're looking to focus more on the hybrid route. So I know that they're on a mission for the Ford F-150 to become the best-selling hybrid in North America based on comments that they've made in the past. So that could also be giving Ford shares a boost right now, up almost 3% in the early going.
Okay. Well, at least they'll have the cars to meet the demand if it shows up as expected. Thanks, Caroline. All right, and a little positive vibes from the analyst community on the potential impact of UAW strike, saying a good bit of that might have been priced in. So definitely some optimism seeping through into the market this morning.